Hello, I'm Leon and I'm an INFP. And the purpose of this video is to give you a general idea of the brain pattern of the INFP and how I apply this knowledge in my life as an INFP in order to evolve myself. So thanks to the work of Dr Nardi, we now know that each type tends towards a certain kind of brain pattern. Dr. Nardi measured EEGs, or electroencephalogram, and these are electric waves of the neocortex that he was measuring. And the neocortex is the outer surface of our brain. And he jokes that INFPs have a halo-like pattern in the brain. My hair is weird. And INFPs are, what I mean by this halo-like pattern is that if you look at our brain, the outer outskirts of our brain, right here, light up, forming a halo-like pattern. But the center of the brain is less active. And why the joke is that why is there a joke is that INFPs are known for their inner ethics, and therefore they could be viewed as saintly. And I know not all of you are going to appreciate the halo joke, but you would be able to see this halo-like pattern in the thumbnail of my video. So this research supports the idea of cognitive functions. We do not share any functions with the ESTP. And it turns out ESTPs have the opposite of this halo pattern, where the center of their brain is lit up, but the outskirts of the brain are less active, which is funny because they're your prototypical badass and they don't have a halo. And when unhealthy, ESTPs can be rather psychopathic in nature. The area of the brain that lights up the most in INFPs is our listening centers. And Dr. Nardi calls INFPs consummate listeners who pay attention in a holistic way. So this gives the INFP the ability to deeply listen to others. So this is in contrast to the brains of INTPs, who are only one letter off. And they demonstrate poorer listening skills because they tune off when they assess the relevance of what you are saying, which is kind of funny because my sister is an INTP and I actually noticed this. I could see her kind of categorize what you say, and when she takes what you say and she doop, it goes into this box, then she starts to kind of zone out. In my own observations of INFPs, and the thing is, I organize a Myers-Briggs group in New York City, so I get to observe different types. And when I look at INFPs, when someone is speaking, the INFPs are the ones who have the most engaged face. They show that they are very attentive, and the other types are less so like this. So the INFP is constantly collecting information about people, usually certain people. And Dr. Nardi writes that they're when they're doing this listening process, they're less likely to defend their own views or take action. And so I do notice this. So an INFP would listen to someone and really try to get into that point of view and really understand that person's personal journey and where they're coming from. And that's why we don't want to put in our viewpoint in order to skew that kind of process. I'm starting to put in my own viewpoint more often. But I think that's kind of interesting because this helps the INFP to get to the core of someone's psychology over time by just constantly taking in information about another person. And I notice this is a bit of a difference between INFJs and INFPs. So an INFJ can make very quick conclusions about people, and they might be surprisingly accurate conclusions. However, the INFP is more likely to wait and keep collecting information over time about somebody. And this allows the INFP to get at the core of the person or a more complete understanding. And one way to look at it is like it's like an X-ray vision of someone that you are making as an INFP. I'm not saying that one type is better than the other, just that I guess each process has its own strength and its own virtues to it. So I think this happens when INFPs do not have an opinion about something. They're very open-minded, so they just collect information about it, and it takes longer for an INFP to come to a conclusion about an issue, so they seem kind of indecisive. So anyway, though Dr. Nardi finds that types have certain kind of brain patterns, he also finds that these patterns become less stereotypical with development. So once you start to exercise different parts of your brain start to become stronger. So I think being a very consummate, empathic listener is a great thing, and also collecting information is a great thing. And we wouldn't be INFPs without it. However, when this is taken to extreme, it can be very easy for INFPs to not really speak up, to be indecisive or inactive, or for other people to not really know what we're thinking about. So we could be rather indecisive because what's happening is that we're busy collecting information and we're slowly weighing that information with our feeling. I have learned to be more decisive on matters, and I think a good starting point is start to be decisive about inconsequential matters. For instance, deciding what restaurant to go to or what activity to do first. And for some reason, INFPs, when it comes to like some really inconsequential thing, it's like a big deal. Like, oh my god, I can't make a decision. And we can anguish over it. So what I basically do is not exert energy with thinking about these inconsequential matters. And I just choose one and I just move to action. And so basically you have these two choices and it's almost like a coin toss. And instead of trying to decide if it's inconsequential, I just go like, boom, one. I just go for one of these things. And I would go for the first thing that pops into my head instead of continually brainstorming possibilities if it's unnecessary. And I know what you're thinking, I can't do this, but actually when I start doing this, it actually becomes easier. And it involves less brain power. These inconsequential matters won't kill you. So Dr. Nardi finds that extrovert thinking is a weak function of ours, and it manifests in the brain as moving to action before accurate or what-if processing. So because of this, the brain energy used in this function is very efficient. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of mimic that. So when it comes to inconsequential matters, I'll just kind of go with it instead of going through some sort of long process about it. And I find that actually saves energy for me. And so what I find is that when I choose, friends start to appreciate me more because, and this is kind of not a very type-specific problem. So basically when you're with a group of friends, when you're with all these friends and no one wants to make the decision about what restaurant to go to or what activity to do. Everyone thinks that they're being considerate by letting the other person decide, but it's actually kind of unpleasant for the other person because then they have to use the brain power in order to make that decision. So what I started doing was to just announce a random decision, and I don't even use brain power. In fact, I avoid using brain power. As a result, I actually am doing everyone, including myself, a favor, and people actually like that I would make the decision. And once you handle inconsequential matters with ease, then you can move on to a little bit more important matters. In my first-hand experience, this ability to be more decisive becomes stronger and less exhausting to me.